as like a sociological tool to like bring things in the 21st century. And I think most importantly, both of us care a lot about pro-social uses of this technology. Right now, the most famous social uses of this tech is like the algorithm to give you the next 30-second video that will keep your attention focused so that an advertiser can be teed up for you. And you're interested, your goal seems to be to provide a common substrate of truth for the human species. Basically an open source Palantir, as you said in the last one. My goal is to create like an open source people search where people can find their compatible connections. But both of us seem interested in using the technology of this fire hose of like internet data for things that people explicitly want in lieu of there being an obvious current monetary use case for that or current company that monetizes doing that. So yeah.
Yes, and
this is part 2.
Yes, and I mean, I got a lot out of just honestly just explaining to you personally this, because I think this is something like you, Matthew, are particularly good at. But I have, all these big ideas and this big vision that I have been talking about and working on for about, I think, 2 years now. And I feel like you are one of the minds that for me act as a kind of like precise sieve, which by that I mean like I kind of threw a lot of stuff at you, and what you reflected back was like the gold. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, whoa, that's brilliant, Matthew. And and you were like, you said that. And I was like, oh, okay. I just hadn't filtered it through. So I really appreciate that. So what, yeah, I think one way to kind of like just capture the entire big picture is what you just said about the, capturing your attention and then teeing that up for advertisers. And like, that's kind of the best that we're seeing. And I want to say like, what's the best possible version of that? As I've been running around explaining, I've had like a coinage that I'm playing with, which is ORI is the world's first ethical mind farm. And I had a little kind of a write-up about this, which I haven't made public yet. And it sounds terrible, right? Like, imagine signing up for something that says it's a mind farm. Can we, let's see, mute?
I think
it should be muted now. Wait, so ethical mind farm, what does that mean or sound to you? I don't think I've told you this phrasing before.
Well, mind farm is not too different from what like most people interfacing with the internet already are experiencing.
That's kind of the point I'm trying to make, is that like all social media currently they're all mind farms. And I'm like, I also want to start a mind farm. Let's just call it what it is. Let's just do it good. And if you don't like it, don't sign up for it.
You should know what it is.
Yes, exactly. And this is what's happening. Like this is and you can see why it's like it's actually made as a jab to all the others doing this work that I am doing, to say you guys are doing this as well. Like it should be like, it's meant to be kind of threatening, in the sense that it raises people's awareness. Like people using my product begin to have a basic awareness of the danger, and that exposes the danger in all the others. And again, the best possible outcome here is, again, not destroying anyone else's business, but just raising the standard for everyone, which everyone really wants to do. Like there's no good reason not to do this.
Well, in my opinion, if you're a person with good intentions who has the best intentions for others, it is to their benefit to accurately label the thing they're signing up for in the potentially worst possible terms, because then if they still agree to that thing, there's no ethical boundary crossed. You've like undone the attempted hijacking of their brain.
Yes.
Because Facebook and all those companies will never refer to it as a mind farm.
Right.
Because they actually don't have the interest. They don't want the user to have a full understanding of what the worst possible interpretation of what they're doing is.
Yep.
And so in a way, I see, even though people would say you're trying to intentionally or deliberately sound evil or unethical, it's actually entirely in the service of getting like fully informed consent before
100%.
someone agrees to interface with you.
100%. And this is something that happened before in, when I was contributing to the Twitter Community Archive project at the very beginning. We actually had this problem where people were getting too excited. There was a sense of like FOMO. There was all this like data about, we had these like cute visualizations, and people were like, oh, I want to upload my archive as well. I want to be in there. And I was like, wait, hold on, calm down. First of all, you don't need to give me your data to have this visualization. And second of all, you have no idea what the implications are. Like, I can tell that you're only doing this because you see your friends over there and you want to get in there. You don't actually want this thing. And this is something I've actually struggled with, but I've struggled to sort of convince. Everyone's a little afraid. Like, people are very afraid of this marketing strategy that I have, because it's risky, right? Like, because you can turn people off too much, and then your whole business is destroyed. And I guess I get, like, I used to be like, last year I was kind of sad that more people weren't doing this because I thought it was a great idea. But I get it now. I understand why others aren't doing it. It is risky, but I know it's a good idea, and I know how to pull it off. And I'm willing to take the risk. So this is what I'm doing now. This is what I was like, screw it. I'm going to do it myself and see how far I can go. And again, I do feel like I'm going, I was telling Kat this, I feel like I'm going very slow. I feel like I'm going extremely slow at this, because it's this big thing that can like really blow up and be this enormous thing. And there's a lot of money that can be made here. And it's this thing that can eat a lot of market share. And I'm learning that business, people keep saying this to me, but business is like a war by other means, or something. Like, when you're eating market share, you're like fighting over territory, and like it's all these battles. And I'm like, I don't want to fight, I just want to build things. And then I realized most of my career, like at Cesium and at Snapchat and everywhere else, was I had someone else above me who was like fighting these battles for me. I just didn't really see it or understand it. And if those guys aren't willing to fight the fights that I want to see fought, like nobody actually enjoys the fight, I guess. So my transition now is like learning to own this responsibility and this risk, and see it through.
Well, having listened to the Founders podcast a lot, I actually do think there are quite a few people who enjoy the fight. They live for the fight, like actually dominating their competitors for market share is maybe the only thing they love. I don't think, some of them don't even love building the product. They actually just love dominating a competitor more than anything else.
So, okay, yes. So let me then rephrase that. Like, I almost feel like I feel like there's this tension between, I kind of hinted
It'd be
at
very
this.
hard for someone. It'd be very hard for us to for you to be trying to achieve your goal with that attitude.
That's what I
because your
mean.
entire
Yeah.
goal is antithetical to competition. It's supposed to like actually be a solution to this kind of zero-sum competition between ideologies, where you say instead we have a shared commons epistemologically, and we're not trying to like fight moral battles. We're trying to give everyone the tools to have a fair fight.
Yes, it's like you want the people to be fighting to not enjoy it, so that you can have the minimal fights necessary for the best outcomes. There's a failure mode. There's two failure modes. There's failure mode where you're enjoying the fight so much that the fight is not necessary anymore, and you keep going. And there's the other failure mode, which I have been failing in, which is I hate the fight so much that I'm not even willing to fight for good things. And this, I mean, we'll segue into this later, but this is the big transition in my life with my court case, where I chose At first I was like, I'm a good guy, I'm not gonna fight. And then bad things kept happening. And I blamed other people, but at the end of the day, actually, it was my fault for not fighting. I chose to fight, and I won, and it felt amazing, and good things are now happening. And I think I just need to keep doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a hard line for you to walk because you're trying to create a world that is less zero sum, that is like more positive sum, more about building and giving people the tools to get rid of the zero sum fighting, especially the pointless zero sum fighting where there's argumentation and there's not even a material conflict um, for them to confront each other over. There's just a misunderstanding of what the like circumstances really are, and
Yeah,
so
yeah, and I think that line, walking this line is the thing, is this new transition for me, because I can see myself becoming that person who really enjoys the fight and is really good at it. But then,
that's how you become entrenched in ideologies, though, because then you need an enemy. If you
right,
enjoy the fighting too much, then you have to identify enemies, and the
right.
second you've identified an enemy, you can't really be defender anymore.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Um, yes. I want
And
to
so
talk.
you
Yeah.
having a public conversation with the person the person who you had to prosecute, who is
Yes.
defending himself from you, is your chance to undo maybe the only sin that your project could commit, which is to be a prosecutor rather than a defender.
Yeah. And this, and I said this. I have several tweets. It's kind of funny on the Omar Twitter, and it's funny that like Omar Twitter is where I go to tweet anonymously now. Uh, like Defender's like this public figure, and Omar, nobody knows who Omar is, and I can just speak freely under Omar, whereas Defender has all this public scrutiny. Um, but I said that the uh, the right way, I think, to understand your lawyer is like you're like general in a war, and that he works for you, and you can ask him to stand down, but that has to be like your decision and your responsibility, because his job is to win. His job is to win the battles for you. And if I ask him to stand down, and then we lose the battle, that's his failure to, or like he's gonna have to come back and clean it up, and the battle's gonna be even harder. So there's a tension between this, but I basically choose. I have to choose where to draw the line. I can just tell you, like, this is how I've compressed it for myself. It's one line. It's just, I will hold my ground for what is mine and concede to what is not mine. That's it. Like the critical part is like I was always conceding the truth and the other side. I was always giving away, right? But the new piece here is ironically the namesake. It's just I need to defend my territory because no one else will. We all of us need to defend our territory, our mind here.
Well, at this point now, maybe for the first time, you've marshaled a fairly large following of people. They're not exactly your employees, and it's not exactly a startup you have yet, but this is one of the bigger things happening on the internet right now, definitely in Teapot. Um, and when people sign up for, I mean, imagine the moral failure actually, if for Steve Jobs to have been fired from Apple when most of the people joined to work with him. Um, you losing what is yours and giving up control of it for something like Ori would be a moral failure, because you're not just kind of choosing to be a pacifist yourself, you're now betraying the
Yes.
expectations of all the people who have invested in it because they signed up to be under your leadership, not under some random one. And so, yeah, there's like, I understand fully the instinct to like be the way that you are. Um, but yeah, you have to grow.
I know, and
It's
I
like
think
founding. It's forced therapy, you know.
yeah, it kind of is, and I feel like it's almost like these like I was telling someone else, like a series of like moral challenges, and if you successfully navigate them, then your reward is more responsibility and greater moral challenges. And my the ORI way is to be always positive sum, to always be win-win. So even if I like here's the thing, this is why it's very nuanced here. It's very important that I cede control and power if I recognize someone who is capable of successfully passing these moral challenges and owning this thing and running with it and going further than I am capable of, or at least seeking their help. Now, that's a choice that I have to make. I can't make this choice sort of out of fear, which I think is what I've done before, where someone shows up, they're like attacking me. And I say, I don't want to fight you. You think you're better than me at this. I think you're wrong. But then here's like where I do like the wiggly, like this is the bad thing, where I'm like, well, maybe you're right. Like I know they're not right. I know that. but then I'm trying to be good. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be the good guy and I'm going to let you take the responsibility. And then you're in power now. Congrats. But it's like you said, that's a betrayal. That's a betrayal of the people who invested their time, their skill, their money into the project that I was leading, that they believed in. And if I give it to someone else, I better be sure that person can do it. If they fail, it's on me. Like I made that choice to give up the power, and this is a choice that I'm responsible for.
Well, we could bring in some of the people here listening because they're directly involved with all of this. But my take on this is that people in this group also signed up for you to experiment and for you to have some of that epistemological humility that, maybe someone coming in and says you're wrong is correct. Is there a way to, in a sandboxed way, just find out empirically if like that's true or not, and give them the reins, and like that's part of the experiment that people have signed up for, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, it is, and this is the most fun part of ORI, in my opinion. And I want to talk about it just in a way that doesn't sound completely insane, because I don't think anyone has ever run a company this way. Can we
hear? I don't know how object level and specific you want to get, but can we hear like what you're kind of referring to, like the event that this is?
Sure.
That this is referring to.
Well, I was going to give an example.
Name. Up to you.
Well, let me do two things. Like an example, sort of, is like, Apple, I hear in the olden days would have a internal competition, right, between different teams doing the same thing, and whoever wins just owns that product or does the thing. I'm trying to do the same thing over various parts of the company, including the top level of the company itself. Whoever, like anyone who can steal it from me, deserves to steal it from me. And we just fight with fair competition. Can you hear that echo too, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was Fenord, I think, joining.
Yes. So I mean, the concrete example here is like Cat, because it says he's muted, but I don't know why.
That's Fenord.
Yeah.
Sorry, I unmuted him and remuted.
Okay. I guess the example of what's happening right now, for example, is the event we're doing in September, that is only happening because Cat just decided it was going to happen. Like this is a bit of a, this is a little crazy. I think people say like irresponsible, because but Cat understands how ORI works. Cat was just running around and it's like, let's do this thing. Here's this venue. It's going to cost a lot of money that Cat doesn't have, and but it's kind of like this big thing. It's this big vision, and I see it happening, and I could sort of choose to stop it or not stop it. But like she's taking actions, but not necessarily like we're not necessarily getting permission from. Like we don't have this like explicit hierarchy. And at some point, there's a choice I could have made here, which is Is this Kat's event or is this my event? Is this Ori's event? Like in another world, and I think this has sort of happened to various degrees, someone like Kat shows up, has this big idea, wants to do it, starts doing it, and then it starts to go in like horribly. Now, I can cut that loose. Like it's not my event yet. Do you understand the idea is like whatever work you do, you own, and you get to decide what happens with it. And then Ori gets to take that and build on it. And if we can build on it better and faster, we basically compete fairly. But this can go both ways. Sorry, let me pause here. Are we still tracking? Do you want to do more concrete examples?
Let's try to organize this. So Kat is hosting an event. I think I saw a tweet alluding to this, that it's like now a $40,000 event venue space. Someone saying this is catastrophe, whatever. It's attached to the Ori brand name. But again, I think this is back to your concerns about the Ori brand ever, having problems. This is the Ori brand. If it, let's say it goes bad, it's a catastrophe. Yeah, Ori sometimes puts on events that are catastrophes. What's the problem? Ori sometimes has a person in charge for 3 days who's like a terrible tyrant. What's the problem? That's kind of what we all signed up for, right? That's like part of the experimental protocol, is that it's a place that has, those trade-offs, and there's blessings that come with that, these interesting events get to happen.
And it's actually pretty important that, like, to me, like, and this is the reason I'm not like scared of this thing, is because the whole point, like before we start this thing, and this is why the very first pillar of Ori is this like truth finding ABU thing. The point is, like, when something bad happens, we can figure out why it happened and learn from that, and we're like not scared of that. Like I feel like the fear is, like, do you remember what we said at the very beginning? If you paint the thing in sort of like the worst possible thing it could be, now people sort of come with this like fully informed consent, and then you can kind of go very far. Now, if I do something and completely fails, like here's the thing. Let's simulate this. Let's say Kat does this event, and all I do is say thumbs up, like that sounds cool, go for it. And I don't know any details, and I make 0 decisions about it, and it completely fails, crashes and burns. Everything's terrible. Now, who are people going to blame here? Like this should be a question of like, everyone who wants to make a decision about whether to hire me for their event in the future should be able to have access to the information about what happened, and they can make their decision. So maybe what they learned from that scenario is like, I'm bad at picking investment opportunities, right? Because that's the decision I made in that case. If what I was doing was, actually I was more involved in that, then that also surfaces that. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really matter, because whatever decisions I make, I want to be held responsible for them. And I'm not afraid of that. So if I make bad decisions, I'm going to have less power and less responsibility. If I make good decisions, I'm going to have more power and more responsibility.
Well, this is all just part of being the founder of a company. You have to entitle lieutenants. You have to entitle people to actually take action and run things. And you have to accept the consequences of giving people the power to do things that are part of the greater mission of the company.
Right. Like I do really expect this to happen. Like there's someone I'm working with who, this would be kind of funny to talk about him here, but Raphael, so Kat is sort of like the first, I guess I mentioned him in the Substack, so it's all good. Kat is sort of the first, we're calling her chief of staff here. Raphael is sort of the second hire, and again, it's just like a 1-month contract to see how we're going to do this. But I think he's someone who's capable of like doing a kind of coup. Like, he has way more business experience than I do. and he's actually not the only one. There's others who I won't name here, who are taking ORI, who are running with it, who are gaining a lot from the brand, people could think that they are ORI because they're doing this in different circles than I'm in, and they don't know they don't even know who Defender is. One day I can wake up and there's like ORI's in the news, and this other guy is like getting the credit, and he's doing the thing, and now
and all the blame, like Ori's done this terrible thing.
So here's the important part. This is normal. Like, I think Mark Zuckerberg, I think this is normal. He can wake up one day and like one of the people under him made a decision, and now the whole company looks bad, and now they have to scramble to figure that out. Now, Mark Zuckerberg would love it if instead of people blaming him, they blamed the guy who made the decision, right? Or maybe Mark gave him too much responsibility to begin with.
That kind of undermines his power, though, doesn't it?
Well, I actually think this would be healthier, and I think he would. I actually think he would thrive in that system where his power does get undermined. It already did get undermined because the other guy under him made a decision that Mark wasn't aware of and Mark doesn't approve of. Now Mark needs to sort of do something about that, to signal internally or externally that he has the power, and he has to sort of either punish or sort of take power away from this person, or kind of do something about it. So I guess I'm saying, like, we're already playing these games. We're already playing the power games. You have to play the power games to stay on top. I just think, again, I have never seen this happen at this very high executive level at a really big public company. But from what I understand, it's this live game between all these different stakeholders. And I actually think, I think Snapchat and Facebook in particular have more of a dictator structure in terms of how the board and voting, etc., work. But other companies don't. But even then, you still have this power struggle. You have this live power struggle. And I think all I'm doing here is making it clear that I expect everyone. Okay, look, it's one line. I expect everyone in ORI to be a live player. Most companies have live players who are the executives, and then everyone else who just kind of builds and fits in under one of these territories. I expect everyone in ORI to be a live player. I expect them to own territory and defend it. And if they cannot defend their territory, they don't get to keep it. If they take territory away from someone else in the company, I'd rather that happen internally with our fair rules of power than externally. Like, outside, we're fighting for market share. Inside, we're also fighting for market share, but in clean power rules. That's it.
Well, the reason that Meta and Tesla and those companies can be dictatorships is because they're all associated with like a registered business that has a bank account that and like ownership of assets, right? And like Mark Zuckerberg, et cetera, has like majority shares that is legally recognized and enforced by the governments that they operate in. ORI right now does not have a bank account, or does
yes.
it? Maybe
it does. It does not have a bank account. Yes, there's no legal entity. Yes,
and so right now there's no thing to have power over. If like someone in Meta decides to do something, Mark Zuckerberg can like physically remove them from the computers owned by Meta, from the property owned by Meta, from receiving money from the company Meta. And if like the bank doesn't do what he said when he emails them, he can say, I have majority ownership of the company, and eventually the police can just come.
Right, but at this high level, there's another piece, which is lawfare. So
yeah,
Mark Zuckerberg has the power to do the things. Okay, the CEO does not have.
The police can just show up if you don't listen to him enough.
Well, it's that, and that depends. It depends on many things. I used to believe this is an important key insight here. I used to believe that if you own the company and this is your property, you get to make the decisions, and you can do those things. You can physically remove someone from the company, right?
Yeah.
That is how generally the law works, and the law does generally work. Now, in cases where it doesn't, like here, like this is the very simple thing. Like, someone can break the law and suffer no consequences.
Yeah.
Because there's edge cases and there's all these games around it. Now, I didn't know that.
For sure.
I did not know that, and I was operating in a world where I thought the laws work as stated. And then when I learned that that's not the case, it's sort of like, it was like a traumatizing thing, because I was like, if this law doesn't work how I think, how it says on the box, what about all these other laws? Can someone just tell me which laws actually work and which laws don't work, and at what level? Can I have, like, imagine
The
like
law
imagine
Go ahead.
unit test coverage.
Yeah.
Imagine like this like dashboard of like, this law is failing right now. There's like a little
Yeah.
red, and I'm like, oh, this matters a lot. This really matters. But okay, look, when we see people on Twitter, they're like, the law doesn't work, and like it's anarchy, and they're like, holy shit, they're depressed. And other people are like, no, it's all good. I'm like, okay, but which ones? Like, if there's tests are failing, if there's some laws that anyone can break and there's no consequences, I need to be able to ask, does that matter for me? Because maybe it doesn't. Maybe my company's safe and the laws that I care about actually work. But if some of them start failing, and they could start failing like today, or just a few weeks ago, moving forward, now I have to figure out what are the other power levers I have. So Zuckerberg has formal power, and that's good, and it protects him. And there's a lot of things that he does not have formal power over, and that includes the trademark, the brand, and the like the will of the company. Like, it should be
The
that
will
what
of the
this
company definitely does not have ownership of.
I thought, like, when the CEO says
It's not
do
legally
this,
enforceable.
right, and others, and someone else, see, some like here, this should be illegal in ORI law. If I come into Facebook and I start pitching ideas, and I basically start stealing, mind share from all the employees at Meta, this is undermining his power. And then he kicks me out, and then I keep doing it from outside the company. There's nothing he legally can do to stop me from doing that, but it's not playing. And we can let's say I'm not playing fair. I'm doing it in a way that's just not good, not positive sum. The point of ORI is to say, like, okay, guys, we understand there's a need to fight these power games and to have this competition, but here's what the rules. We agree to play by these rules, and we agree to play by them because they are positive sum, and the enforcement happens automatically. What does that mean? It means if you break the positive sum rule, you suffer the consequence immediately, which is this: people can tell that you broke this positive sum rule, and you go down in what I'm calling the ORI ELO ranking leaderboard. People have less trust in you, or less faith in you, or whatever. So do you understand that? Yeah.
I can think of an example of this. There are people who are part of special interest groups with dominant mind share within companies like Google, and formerly inside of a company like OpenAI. So when there was the Sam Altman coup, he was acting CEO, he was in charge. There were people who were part of the special interest group of effective altruism and like AI safety work. And they staged a coup from outside and inside the company. They staged a coup over the mind share of OpenAI,
Right.
to undermine, Sam Altman being able to fiat give directions on what people's goals and objectives should be, and instead they tried instantiating a different one, and it was in a way that was like looked to be almost legally enforceable by them, that they could do so. And so that's just an example of like people who superseded the acting CEO's mind
Right.
share of like what actions the company should take, what actions the people within it should care about.
Right. And what I'm saying here, for that kind of thing, I want to have a clean power game, so we can look at this and ask, was that a legal move? Like, you could there are sort of like ways to do a coup
Well,
I
they
would
would have
say,
said that OpenAI originally in its founding had in its constitution
well,
that that
but
was a legal move. In fact, that their mission was the original mission of OpenAI. That
right,
Sam
well,
Altman was the one who was making the illegal moves.
like I want to basically say, to look at this case and say, because this is sort of the legal move for in terms of the justice system. I want to ask, Sun Tzu, we call this like natural law, moral law, whatever. Is this a legal move in this like law of reality, this law of like positive sum? Now, the reason I care about figuring that out is because if you're doing the best legal move to achieve your aims here, then everyone on your side who cares about the purpose that you're fighting for can come on board, can come help you, and your thing can grow. Like the whole point is, I'm going to say something and then there's a rebuttal that I'll bring up. But if I'm Matthew, this is actually the key. I'm not willing. People like me are not willing to fight because we're worried we're fighting dirty. We're worried we're going to cause harm. We're worried we're going to do it wrong. If I can tell you, like, look, these are the clean rules, these are the moral rules, this is the best thing you can do here given these aims, then I feel unblocked. I'm like, okay, then I do care about this purpose, and I am willing to do to do my little coup, to sort of fight for it. So I'll go off and do it. So I'm not even afraid of, like, if I get caught or something, like I'm not afraid because I can stand by what I did, and I understood the trade-offs and the risks that I was making. So,
what kind of coup are you fearing is going to happen with ORI? What is the
fear here? I'm hoping there will be a coup, because there's a lot of responsibility at the top, and it's exhausting, and it'd be nice to kind of rotate in and out. It'd be nice for someone to grab the brand, and then for me to grab it back. And then, or they hire me after. Like, I want to play this game. I want to play it clean. The caveat I just want. Yeah.
I mean, this is how ancient Greece and ancient Rome operated. You had these systems, and who was in charge rotated in and out every 6 to 12 months.
The only problem, and this is the things that people have, like, who I guess are, like, run companies are telling me, like, I'm too naive here, is like, in my world, you would announce your coup before you do the coup, because that's like the clean way to do it. And the reason you would do that is because if you're on the right side, then you could win without fighting. Yeah. The other guys might just stand down. Now people tell me this is naive because if you do this clean, if you do the clean power game and the good guys only fight clean, they're at a disadvantage, and the bad guys who are already in power, who don't have that restriction,
they'll stop fighting clean.
Well, then, yeah, they won't start. Like, if I make this clean protocol and then only we use it and the other guys are already on top, are not.
They'll dismantle the protocol the second they have the power.
Exactly. So they're like, this is not going to work. Now, I think the answer to that is, I mean, just two simple pieces. Like, I think there's this necessary amount of, like, how do you birth the clean protocol inside of the dirty world? I think there's a necessary amount of, like, necessary evil. I think necessary evil is necessary, which is like a funny. Yeah. It's a funny kind of, like, not a lot of people. We've been having this debate a lot, but I do believe it. I think necessary evil is necessary. The other piece is this, like, weird faith I have in humanity, which is the following. This kind of comes from, like, my Arab background a little bit, my Muslim background. I believe that if I do the right thing and I walk in the danger zone and I get destroyed, then I've done my duty, and it's up to the next guy to carry the torch. The mountain is over there. if any of us make it, abundance and flourishing for everyone, and there's snipers everywhere, and no one wants to take a step. And then one idiot just kind of like ran up there and got completely destroyed immediately. And so no one wants to take another step. And it's been years, and no one wants to take a step. And I'm like, it's collapsing back there. It really sucks down there. Nobody's actually happy. Even the snipers are not happy. Even they're kind of starting to move upwards. And I'm just saying. And this is okay. So by the way, this is the thing where like I act stupid on the internet. Have you noticed that? I act really dumb. And the reason for that is here's what I did. I started, okay, this is really fun here. I started by running around in circles. People saw me going for the mountain, they started panicking. And then I turned around and walked all the way back. And everyone's like, what the fuck is he doing? Is he stupid? He was right there. He was so close to like the gem. Okay. But he didn't do it. He didn't take anything with it. Okay. And I ran back in. And then I went out again. And so as far as people can tell, like there's no point shooting at me because I'm not actually doing anything useful, and there's a lot of other people who are actually shooting for the mountain, so they're distracted by that. Now that's what they think. What I've actually been doing is like I am identifying all of the safe parts up the mountain, and this is the most, okay, I'll tell you the most unethical thing I'm doing. This is I need to disclose this to the world because it's kind of fucked up. This is where like the court of moral of no legal court. Okay, Matthew, no legal court can hold me accountable to this. The only court that can hold me accountable to this is the moral court, and I want to be judged by the moral court of ORI. Listen, I know what I'm doing. I'm walking up that mountain, and I am seeing where the safe spots are, and underneath them are like huge amounts of resources and gems. And I don't touch them. I just kind of swerve right there, and I know that there are other people watching me, and I'm watching them, and I know that they reach for those things. And you know what happens next? They get shot. Does that make sense? They take the steps that I would have taken because I painted it so clearly for anyone, and I didn't ask anyone to do it. Yeah.
Do you think you goad people into taking the next step that'll get them potentially shot?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I do that. And why do I feel like this is okay? Okay, let's talk about this. Because I'm sitting here. Okay, listen, Matthew. Teapot did this to me. They did this to me. They didn't tell me I was getting in danger. I'm angry at, and other people, someone else wrote this a little while ago, like they basically they didn't use these words, but they called ORI like a mind farm. And I was like, shit, this same thing that happened to me happened to you, except you lost your job and now you're just like kind of depressed and cut off from your friends and family. In my case, I made it out. I made it out a little bit. Like I made it out, like I found a way to make this career work. Like I could have been a bum right now. I had a great career and a good life, and I got into Teapot, and now I quit my job, and I'm doing all these crazy things. And for a while, I was really worried. I'm less worried now because I finally figured out these pieces, and money's starting to come in. And I'm getting married in a month, and I need this thing, right? Like my life is stable now, but I was in a very dangerous position before. But the reason I was because it like this thing like preyed on my like hope. And the thing is, it was real. Like the mountain is real, the path is real. These things aren't fake. They're just dangerous. This is why it's really hard to disentangle from that, because there's only, once you see it, your options are to like go back to the depressing, sad world and know that you gave up, and know that there's other people getting shot trying to do this, or you try. I think people should try if they want to, but they should know what they're getting into. That's it. So I need people to understand that ORI is dangerous, and this is actually, you know, can segue into this a little bit.
Well,
but this is,
you know, the military is dangerous, right?
This is how, well, but people, right, this is how I've been using Mr. Fenord as my like cover. Like people believe this man is dangerous. There's a lot of, I've used this with many things, but this is one of the uses I've been doing. If Teapot thinks someone is dangerous, and I know the truth about him, but that gives me this cover. It's like, oh, don't work with defend, don't go over there, it's dangerous. I'm like, well, yes. If anybody, like, if that, it's actually working like beautifully. The people who remain in ORI after that sort of whole incident are those who read the fine print that just says danger and are like, wait, is it dangerous? How dangerous is it? What are the implications for me? They read all of the information and then they decide, I understand now. I understand everything that's happening now. I want in. And then now that they're in and I have their full consent, then we play the game.
So people aren't usually willing to do something dangerous unless there's a mission that is worth being injured for, right?
Yes.
So what do you see as like the mission that there might be a few, but like the mission that people are signing up for, that they're saying, I'm willing to go into the danger that comes with being part of ORI, because this is a goal I want to achieve or help them achieve?
Well, let me, sorry, I'm distracted. I want to address something and then I'll get back to this question. In the ORI Discord, they're asking, when am I going to address QC and guys' questions? Which we'll get to that.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't started.
Do you want to? Yeah. Well, that seems somewhat pertinent. So let me give you the agenda.
Sure.
We still need to talk about the court case and the object level to the degree to which you want to. I'd still love to give Kat a chance to come and talk about the Psyop Hackathon, and have her articulate that, because that seems like one of the more promising things that has developed in the last month. It's like an actual instantiation of getting more people to help with like the technical stuff. But what would be the problem with starting with the Brent Dill thing? Do you want to start with that now, since people watching are like eagerly anticipating that?
Well, let's do it this way. Let's do Psyop Hackathon, Brent, and then court case, in that order. Psyop Hackathon can be a nice 20 minutes, and it's fun. And then we'll do the heavier things.
Okay.
All right. Is Kat on the line? Kat, can you try your mic?
I think we can bring Kat on.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So let me frame it, and then Kat can jump in, or Matthew can kind of direct this. But do you want me to where do you want to start? I have a little Substack on it, but do you have a question?
This is the intro video when we post like a 2-minute promo to the Psyop Hackathon. What Kat's about to say is the audio that's playing over the with like the CRT monitors and like drones dropping bombs and stuff. Like, this is Kat's, Kat narrating the voice. Kat, what is the pitch for the Psyop Hackathon?
War is raging on all around us, and civilians need to be able to protect themselves and recognize the bullets, metaphorically, that are flying right next to their ears.
Okay, that has to make the cut.
Beautiful.
It's got to get the right music going on behind it. All right, Kat, what do you think is the major mimetic or psyop warfare that you've seen in the last, like, let's say year or two, that like really sticks in your mind? Could be outside that time frame, but like the one that's most salient in your mind that you think was waged in the world.
That's such a tough question, because I feel like so many different parties are participating in this that it's really not. It's more of a like decentralized movement rather than any specific top-down hierarchical or organizational operation. And the reason I say this is a lot of my research draws on this concept of 5th generation warfare, which is, to put simply, like narrative warfare, social engineering, etc. But the thing about fifth generation warfare is that while previous generations of warfare are very kinetic, meaning bullets, bombs, a lot of violence, like physical violence, fifth generation warfare is more about war over the mind, over the cognitive space. And I think that it's important for people to realize that both military and non-military organizations end up participating in this, even with things that seem not malicious at all, like marketing, right? Like marketers and anybody making like comms, I guess, broadcasting into the cybernetic system is participating within this environmental landscape that is at war. So sorry to skirt around your question there, but I guess just overall, maybe like the cybernetic system at large is the thing doing it. But I don't see that as a bad thing. I see that as something that we as humans need to adapt to, learn new forms of social organization for, and develop the tooling to let us operate in this reality without being overwhelmed, alienated, uh, otherwise removed from our ability to have agency. I guess that's really what I like am fighting for, is to restore agency to the average person, because I feel like a lot of agency is taken away through the current structure that all of this is through the way that they relate themselves to the system that exists, is the way I'll say that. Does that answer it? Sorry.
Well, I think this is the right like sort of background. And if Matthew, if you're looking for like who's fighting whom, like what are the battles that are like that we're watching? For me, and I thought of, as Kat's talking, two concrete examples. The big one that I was watching was Elon Musk getting into, like, he entered the. I think this is why I learned a lot from that, because you could see, if you were paying attention, you could see when he entered the fray. And anytime there's a new player, it shows you it basically, it's a very rare glimpse of the, it's a rare glimpse of the battlefield. Because normally, if you just wake up and look, what's actually happening in the world is a lot of stories. The news is just the news. Things just happen. But the actual game board is that, like, these 7 news pieces about all these different industries are actually like this kingdom or this network fighting this other kingdom. And this Reddit post is part of that op, right? So you don't see that. But when you witness a player, especially Elon Musk being visible, like doing a lot of the propaganda himself with his own voice. Trump is another kind of example of that. So that was very interesting to me, because a lot happened there. Because he entered the fray, he was not in the fray. He entered the fray, and then he had essentially a schism. I watched, like, I'm pretty sure I caught it, like the moment, the attack against them that split Musk and Trump. To me, that was something that was not inevitable. That, like, Musk and Trump were sort of separate players but collaborating, and then I saw the sort of like attack come, and it landed, and they tried to defend against it a little bit, but it was too much. And then and this was the H-1B immigrant thing that happened, I think, in December 2024, I think. Does that make sense? Do you remember this?
Yeah, this was what I thought was a near inevitable fracture between the newly acquired Republican elite, the tech right, and more of the traditional.
So I want to kind of like like the word inevitable you're using here is, I think what it was a weak, rotting piece in the scaffolding of that alliance, and the other side noticed that and the other side smacked it. Now, it could have fallen naturally. And you know what? The best op is the one that looks like, as you can make it look as natural as possible. You win, you hide your thing. But if we are paying attention, this is the thing that gives me hope and is making me like not crazy conspiracy theory paranoid. Any inorganic change to the information system leaves a trace. If it
organic change,
inorganic, like any engineering in our information system leaves a trace. Let me write this down because any engineering. We, the scientists doing this, we know what organic decay and organic growth looks like. Everybody can agree that this is a scientific question. If you do something, if you engineer something, it leaves a trace. If you engineer it in such a way that it's 100% identical to what the organic output would have been, then you have done zero engineering. You have not altered the trajectory of the system. If you're acting in a way that leaves no traces, you have no power. You're not actually doing anything, and I'm not concerned with you.
Well, Marxist language often puts that ideologies suffer from internal contradictions. And, you know, this was an example of an internal contradiction within the kind of Trump second term platform. Was the discrepancy in views on that. And yeah, it could have collapsed organically. Someone could have come along and whacked the rotting part with an axe, and then you would see that mark premature.
Exactly. Yep.
One can also notice in the liberal world order that it has itself internal contradictions. And I think it's had such power for now since maybe the 1950s, the United Nations. And no one's really wanted to whack down the tree, and it's now become where the rot has achieved a point where I don't know how many more decades left where those internal contradictions don't need to be addressed in some way. Some rebar put in to reinforce it. But yeah, how guilty is someone to come along and start whacking the rotting part of a tree with an axe eventually? And maybe the inevitability is that we could have reinforced it with rebar. Is that what we want?
No.
Rebar.
What I want, and it's very simple, because my vision, like, it actually doesn't cost a lot of money. It doesn't really cost a lot of people to change with it. Like, it's actually cheaper than whatever it is we're doing right now. All I want, and this is why I'm so confident now that it can honestly just change the whole game, which is what we're trying to do in September. All I want is for us to look at it and say, hey guys, I see this rotting thing, I'm about to chop it down because I think that's going to be better for my purposes. And then we look around and say like, okay, if you're going to do that, there's going to be a lot of debris over there. So make sure you're out of the way, make sure those guys, like a construction zone, everyone. Okay, now that's your side. You're chopping down the other side. Now the other side can say, what the fuck are you doing? This is our side. And we hear you coming with your axe. You just announced that like an idiot. So we're gonna reinforce it. Now, I say that's all fine and good. I don't want the people who win these games of information structure to be ones who win just because I was asleep and you came in the night and chopped the thing. I want the people to win because they wanted the fair competition, they won with the merit, they won with the competence. And there is a true answer to that, because if we roll the future forward, the people with who can create structures that last and who can absorb the other people, refugees from the others. Those are the people I want. Those are the people that we all want to win.
Yeah, who can create lasting structures. Don't let people come in with axes tearing down perfectly good trees that we have to regrow.
Right. The thing, like right now, we're running around attacking. There's a class of humans This is the world we live in. There's a class of humans who are running around with axes and reinforcing their roots and branches, whatever. And there's a class of humans that we call the NPCs who can't tell the difference between that and natural disaster. And all the live players, most of them, are happy with this state because the less live players there are, the less people you have to keep track of with axes. They think what I'm doing is running around giving everyone axes. And I think to some degree at the beginning, functionally this was what I was doing, because the more I explain the game, the more people pick up an axe, or like you can't control these people. People can just do anything. But I'm saying, okay, I know there's a period of chaos here, but let's just go one more step and say, look, I'm gonna wear an armband that says, yeah, I have an axe, but I'm following these specific rules, the Geneva Convention of Information Warfare. I'm gonna label myself. The first rule of the Geneva Convention of Information Warfare is you label yourself. And that's a costly signal, because everyone else who's the bad actor doesn't want to label themselves, because it gives them away. It gives away their purpose. It gives away their actions. They can no longer run in the night. They can no longer run it. Do you see how you cannot break this rule? This is one of the rules. It's international law. So who's going to enforce international law? I don't care who's going to enforce it. It's self-enforcing. You label yourself as an information agent. That tells me information about you. That restricts your actions. If you don't, now I know that you either are not aware of it or you intentionally chose to break the rule. Now I have information on you. There's no way. We're creating, like Matthew, we're creating a game. There's two pieces to this thing. The game, Cat is creating an actual game, and there's rules to it, and we're going to play at this event, and it's going to be wholesome and cute and beautiful. Okay? And there's the meta game. The meta game is, I'm going to describe what it looks like to be a citizen in this civilization that we live, and what are the correct rules to protect yourself and engage with others who are also wanting this new system. And there's no way out of it. This is the part that I say it there's no way to not be in this game. You're already a player, and I have rules, and the rules make sense, and you either play by the rules or you signal yourself as not playing by the rules. There's no way out. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but we share a reality, and we want it to be at least legible enough for us to survive and to thrive. And we need rules. And if you think my rules are stupid, tell me and I will listen. And if I'm not listening, I trust that you will do whatever is necessary. That's all I have. That's my stance. That's it.
All right. Cognizant of time, we have 1 hour left. So Kat, can we have you for 5 minutes just describe your vision for the hackathon, what you're hoping to get out of it, what you hope to unfold?
Yeah, I actually have a anecdote I want to share from John Arquilla. But first, I want to briefly give some context around how I even developed this game. And for that, I need to briefly describe this concept of net war, which is short for network warfare, which is basically about warfare in the social realm. So it really leans into social organization. It leans into the noosphere. It leans into cognitive space. But what John Arquilla developed was this strategy for Iraq in 2007 called Outpost and Outreach. And what Outpost and Outreach was meant to do was change the way our military was operating from this mentality of we need to essentially suppress all of these villages at whatever cost, including killing innocent civilians and villagers. And what John Arquilla did was he came in and said, this isn't working. All we're doing is encouraging all of these people to go and support these local freedom fighters who are fighting against the great Satan, which is the United States, which is logical if the United States military is bombing and killing your neighbors and your family and all these people, right? Like, it makes sense that you're going to pick the lesser of two evils. You're going to pick the demon you know in your backyard and not the demon you don't know from across the ocean. So what he wanted to do was change the way the military operates in order to build a overarching narrative for both civilians and the military. So what, back to outpost and outreach. What this is, outposts are small squads of villagers located in small squads of soldiers located in a village with these villagers. And instead of being this authority, this like top down suppressive force, John Arquilla said, why don't we go in, grow social connections with these villagers, and they'll tell us about the ongoings locally. We can stop killing them. We can pay them, give them a little bit of money for tips and things. And what this did was it allowed us as a military, as like an intelligence network, to understand the terrain of what's actually going on in this place with these people in their minds so much better than we currently have. And over the next 4 years, from 2007 to 2011, John Arquilla's outpost and outreach strategy actually reduced violence in Iraq by over 90%. And just reiterating, this was violence including things like bombings, killing civilians, absolutely raining terror on these people. And his strategy enabled us to be a lot more productive. It enabled us to push back against the freedom fighter terrorist cells that were being developed all around. And it was letting us integrate as a narrative into these people's local narratives, right? We have this global overarching strategy, and these local squads in these villages are adapting their specific conditions to both the village and the global narrative. You mentioned Marxism earlier, so I'll use this as a reference, but he actually draws a lot of inspiration and wisdom, I guess we could say, from Mao Zedong and his strategy of the mass line, of protracted people's war, of all of these strategies that the Chinese Communist Party used with their villagers to connect with them and develop this shared ethos. So that's the context of how we got here. But now this game that we're developing, when I look at the internet today, when I think about what people talk about it in the context of, all I can think about is alienation and division and infighting, chaos, negative chaos, where people seem to be controlled by these like emotional egregores. Somebody was saying in the ORI server the other day. And I think that we need to recontextualize the way that we view each other, but also the way that we view ourselves in this informational terrain. And the game in September is meant to translate this strategy of outpost and outreach and have real life players in a live cybernetic simulated environment. Well, it's real. It's going to be a real world. It's going to touch the real world. Yeah, all this is going to be live streamed, live posted on real platforms. But we're going to be trying to help embed this ethos of outpost and outreach, of unifying and building shared narratives instead of slaughtering all these local villages, metaphorically speaking. And we actually have John Arquilla giving these briefings at this talk, right? He created this, and he seems to think that our strategy, our plan going into this September event, he's hopeful. I don't want to say that we're all too overly optimistic, but I'll just say that we have a lot of strong players in our team right now, And when I say players, I mean the designers of the game at this point, the metagame players, we could say. And a lot of us are very hopeful that we are able to reduce this violence by a significant portion and move forward into a better unified future. Sorry, that's what I got. Thank you.
All right. That's a very cool framing for this. So my two questions that I don't want you to skirt around. What is Iraq? And what are the methods of slaughter that are currently being used?
Gotcha. Metaphorically speaking, I understand. I was like, Iraq is a country. No, the villages in Iraq. Okay, so I have this. I've written a book. So if you want to learn more about it, read the Virtualist Manifesto. But I'll summarize it here. The information environment.
What is it? How can people search for this? What is it called?
If you Google the Virtualist Manifesto, and then add cat with a K afterwards, I'll pop right up. And if you don't add cat, I'm about the second or third search result. So I'm still there, but I'm not the first search result. So don't click that one. That's not the right thing. Anyways. In this case, the village. So okay. The information environment that most people think of is not. Most people don't think of it as a tangible space. They think there's the material, and then there's the virtual. And material is real, and virtual is fake. But what I have been studying for the past 2 years, maybe a little longer, but roughly 2 years, is this idea that virtual space is not fake. It's part of our material reality. And a lot of Chinese and Russian thinkers actually support this view, surprisingly enough, but also our military supports this view. So it sounds like there's a little bit of global consensus there, but I'm just setting the stage for this. Sorry. So the information environment is this real tangible geography almost. And I call this realm the T, short for the teleological space. But the geography, so like the geography of the information environment, is a real thing. And when we think about the internet, we can think of it almost as like clouds of dust, like in the stars. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the best analogy.
Well,
okay,
is the question of like where is Iraq in this space is like are you asking a question like what is the territory that we're fighting in or that we're going to clean up?
Give me the account whose relatives are terrorists, according to you. Who need to have your.
We'll have that. No, we will have that. Okay.
Well, hold on. To tell me now, or is this only going to get revealed at the hackathon?
I think it'll get revealed in the next few weeks.
Where is Iraq? If the internet is the global world, where have you?
Okay, look. I'll tell you. Look. This is obviously it's a very spicy question, and I have a plan for how to answer it publicly in a way that doesn't get us all in trouble.
Bin Laden? Is that Charlie Kirk? Who's Osama bin Laden? Who's Saddam Hussein?
There's the way we're going to do this, and this is currently, if you apply, you can apply to attend right now, and it's going to be like an invite thing. You still have to sell tickets, but right now the application asks you what territories are you active on, and everyone needs to come. Look, some people okay, let's be clear. Some people are currently in terrorist camps, right? There's some people are currently doing active warfare, and in my opinion, they're on the wrong side, and maybe other people disagree. Now I want everyone to come sort of like, this is a meeting of, you basically apply to this thing by saying like, here's my territory, here's my guy. And obviously it's a dangerous thing to do, but it's less dangerous if I can draw all these different people. And we're going to make a list like, yes, Matthew, we're going to have like I joke about this, about the ORI org chart. And I'm like, I don't need your consent to put you in the ORI org chart, and I got in some trouble with that. But what I really mean is like, this is the watch list. I have a watch list, and I am watching you. And some people, and it's a very valuable thing to publish, and we're going to do that clean. Again, it has to be done clean, because if you say no,
I'm about to say, you guys know that I'm sure some people are going to show up and they want to. do outreach in like the Facebook outskirts of like Red Pillistan, and you know their kids are like freedom fighters on X, and you want to like reach out to them and try to give them better information.
Like
but what if I show up and I want to start putting boots on the ground in suburban Portland? You know, can everyone choose their own Iraq at this event, Kat?
So the big distinction is that we're not going into this as individuals. We are forcing people to make squad identities as like 10-person squads. Technically, it's 11, including the cybernetic audience connection, but that will take me too long to explain right now. But the idea is that people come in with their individual positioning, right? Ideally, you come in, you have your own individual identity narrative. And then day one is the outpost building session. So on this day, you're going to be connecting with your squad. You guys are going to collaborate on a shared narrative, and we are going to be integrating you with your village, basically, through exposure, through promotion, through agitating these people to not isolate. Now, the rest of the weekend is this outreach section of the game. So day one is outpost building these social bonds, but days 2 and 3 are about learning how to run operations. What does it mean to have an identity narrative positioning, and also trying to achieve certain goals? How do you do it? Like, how do we collaborate as a collective to influence the world? And this can be things such as information gathering, you know, from those villages, but it can also be operations. You know, the soldiers in Iraq didn't simply do information gathering exercises. They were more active in a lot of other ways to the Iraqi people, than just intelligence. So I'm building out cards, game cards for inspiration for these teams, but really it's going to be like an open world simulation. You know, you're mentioning, what if people come in with these motives or that motive? And I actually think that adds to the game, right? Because we're almost testing, you know, you're on Twitter, so red button, blue button. Do you choose to prioritize your individual identity, or do you choose to prioritize a larger squad identity? And are you going to be a team player, or are you going to be, quote unquote, a terrorist within the squad? Like, are you going to try to sabotage the 9 other people on your team who you're supposed to be collaborating with? Like, you guys are supposed to be
more like a war criminal, right?
Yeah, I guess
like
war
the
war
member of the
criminal would be
squad
good.
who's shooting up the village.
Yeah, and like, you doing that, that's going to ruin the reputation of that squad. It's going to ruin the connection. It's going to drive people away. It's going to drive them into the arms of the people that we see as negative, which in this case is anybody not fighting for love, right? I know I'm using a lot of war concepts, but I just want to circle this back to, ultimately, we're trying to build a better world where people can organize around love and not just organize around violence and hate and like disruption. You know, like, we live in an incredible time. I was just thinking about this recently, and we're all incredibly blessed to have access to the world we live in today. You know, medicine, technology, transportation. I flew through the sky the other day. Like, how that's fascinating. But people seem to still be stuck in this like old world lack mindset where things are zero sum, where we can't collaborate for better futures, because if I win, you have to lose. But I don't think this is the case anymore. I think we live in a world where things are not zero sum. We were able to collaborate to get more than the sum of any of our parts. And I feel like that is really what I see as like the ORI ethos here. And why I'm a part of the group, but also why I think the group is so supportive of this game event, if that makes sense.
It sounds very fun. I intend to come. Two specific questions to ask you. The first one is if my definition of love is showing up, and I can even assemble a squad who has the same definition, is that the primary love I think is missing in the world is something like the love for unborn children. And I decide to set up my shop, my outpost inside of like the relatives of other people at the event who are targeting like the opposite side, and I'm like coming as the opposite side. This will not be a problem at your event, I'm assuming. Having people who are directly in political competition,
No,
seemingly.
no, I think this actually
Okay.
will enhance it for the reason that there are kernels of truth in everything. And one of the reasons we are also alienated from one another today is that we all seem to think that there's one truth. And the only truth is that there are many truths. And I think that in a situation like you're detailing, broadcasting the synthesis of these very diverse mindsets over the course of a weekend will lead to learning both internally within that group, but also for everybody at home observing this in these interactions and also contributing. You know, like let's say a edgy comment gets made in person and it spins off into this like trend of people talking about it. The goal is to create this synthesis as a society, as a community, as a squad, as a player. So disagreements actually make all of this better.
And I want to add to that. Like, I think in that specific scenario, what I expect to happen is these two squads are in direct political competition. Now, what do we do in this case? Now, what I want to happen is the protocol teaches you, hey, you focusing on like teaching you how to capture territory better, like, and maybe that's the side, that's the protocol what the game should teach you. Now, if again I have a political side and like, oh shit, the people who are on the wrong side are winning, they're capturing more territory, and they're doing that because, now here's the thing, if they're doing that because the other side is just not playing the game well, we teach them better. The referees maybe help, the staff helps. We're not gonna like interfere with the game as it plays out. You want it's just very simple. It's like if everybody plays, it's very important that we don't determine who wins. The rules are fair and people fight, and the sort of information environment does its thing, and whichever culture wins is the one that wins. Sometimes whoever is bigger wins because they just have more people. They can just kind of send all the troops in, and they just win because of that. But if that's the case, there's techniques for the smaller crews to sort of spread their message and still capture territory, and vice versa. So I'm not like worried about that. Like people can fight, people can say all kinds of crazy shit. We're gonna be watching. What I think, and I don't know, actually I still don't know like what does it mean to win the game? And Kat's gonna explain this to us maybe on Monday. But what I want to see is who was very skillful in capturing territory, and maybe they did it with like a small team or a small amount of like thing, and it doesn't matter what payload they propagated. And we'll deal with that after. Like maybe the payload, maybe they changed people's minds, maybe they did something like crazy. Now they started a cult. I don't know what's gonna happen here. But the point is, you can do it skillfully. There's ways to do information payload propagation skillfully and transparently. Again, following these rules. And if something, you can always sort of counter it in other ways if you disagree or if you don't like what happened here.
Well, it sounds like the rules that Kat has come up with that I think despite often wanting to advocate for, maximal permissibility and maximum allowance of varying moralities, is that it needs to come from a goal of love, whatever your definition of love is, and that the judges will be looking for, war crimes. So you have to not violate the mimetic Geneva Conventions,
Yes.
and if you can and you know, whatever your definition of love is, if you can push that without committing war crimes effectively, then you've won the game. Exactly. What it sounds like.
That's it. That's it. I love that. We're going to clip that. That's perfect. Thank you, Matthew.
Kat, would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I think that's very accurate. You know, we want to enable agency, but we really want your agency to be built out of love and out of improving the world. We're really not trying to inspire agency so that somebody can nuke the planet and kill everybody. That's not what we want. You know, we have a lot of people here, and if we don't unify, we're just going to continue dividing, and we all see how well that's going currently.
Well, it sounds like a awesome thing you've set up here. So maybe the next time we do this in like a month or two, it'll be the final time before the event and you can articulate a little further. But yeah, that was awesome to hear all that.
All right, we can segue into the next topic. And okay, if we don't have time for the, like tease it for next time or something, or do a separate.
Okay, so yeah, the anticipated thing, it seems that you've garnered controversy around people you let into the group. Now, as I've gone through the Discord, I've noticed you've assembled a hodgepodge, ragtag group of people. And, you know, one person who gets called out on Twitter is far from the only member of the community who seems to have some controversy to them, some weirdness. What do you think's going on here? Firstly, that you're attracting this like subset of people. What's going on there?
I'm glad we're starting with that because there is a pattern here, and
the pattern's undeniable.
Yes, I think it's sort of. I want to say this that, you know, without insulting the people in ORI, because I said it to someone and he was like, "That sounds terrible. I don't want to." Do you really think? But okay, there's a sense in which I'm running what I'm calling the ORI bottom floor. You can call it the back tier versus front tier, back tier. There's a sense in which people fall into this thing. Like I said this, okay. The reason this thing was insulting that person, but I think it's still kind of true. And it's true for everyone who's at the bottom floor here. This is the best place. Like I design, like, you know what I do? I take anyone who comes here to me and I design the best thing that I can for them and I put them in there. Now, if they stay here and thrive here, etc., it's the MVP. It's like the smallest amount. It's like it's the worst best thing they could possibly have. And if they stay here, I know what their entire world looks like. If they had a better place to be, they would be there. The fact that they're here tells me a lot. And this includes like fame. There's like when like people who are wealthy end up in the bottom floor. Like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Why are you talking to me? Like, there's so many gates. You have to jump over. I'm like in a little ramshack. You know. This is the part that pisses me off. Okay, I'm in a little like ramshack, barely a thing down the river, and I'm just kind of take whoever shows up, and I'm kind of playing. I'm playing with them. I'm doing stuff, and then suddenly people want to buy the stuff we make. I'm like, that's great. But these young people or these like outliers, they did something useful. You can take them. No one else wanted them, and I took them, and I did something useful with them. Now, my skill, and I've noticed this is a pattern that happened in my life. I've been looking at old blog posts from 10 years ago, and I've been doing this. My skill is to take these things that people see no value in, and I see value in them, and I inspire that value, and the value comes out. Well, one of my big stories is that I went to a hackathon, and I was stuck with like a team of freshmen who didn't know how to code against like a team of like seniors who were machine learning people, and they already had jobs, and it was like this whole thing. And we won. On my team with a bunch of freshmen who barely knew how to write HTML code. I sort of did this magical thing, and we won. And this happened through other hackathons as well. So when people start, like, the flack that I get here is weird. I think it's silly because when when this ramshack like outlier back tier thing starts producing a lot of value, now it suddenly starts to look hot and like a sort of exclusive space.
And now people want to police who's allowed to hang out at the club.
Right, but I'm like, we're fucking down by the river. Like, what are you like? Where am I supposed to like? There's nowhere else to go. This is ORI is like this is supposed to be this public internet. It's like where it's the room, and I had an image for this, but I'm like, there's all these secret rooms, and there's one room that there's the ORI is, and again, this is the ORI bottom floor. It's the room that's outside of all the secret rooms. Everybody, there's two kinds of people, Matthew. People who have a kingdom, belong to a kingdom, and are protected by it, and is well curated, and they have the resources, and they have a funnel, and it's all beautiful. And then there's everyone else. And ORI is the fucking public university. It's a fucking internet. There's no one in charge. You're just on the goddamn internet. If you have someone to protect you, you're not in ORI. If you have somewhere to be that's good for you, you go there. ORI's the best. ORI's
unless you don't like the trade-offs of that kind of place.
Oh yes, so that's what I mean. So like you're always like there's two options. Either you have no option, or you like this. You feel more free in this open Wild West than you do.
Well, when you're in the private rooms, they have these rules that have trade-offs where people genuinely are incentivized to be and think and act a certain way, and then they police what you can say, what you can do, in ways that are maybe beyond improving the quality of the community for me, but rather it is improving the quality of the community for the powerful stakeholders of that community.
Yes. So, and this is a way I've described it. Imagine there's a research university or a government thing, and then I'm the bar across the street. And then people come, hang out at the bar, and they talk, and they get good ideas, and they do good, cool work. But also some crackpots are also there. It's a crazy space. And then again, like imagine if people start giving lectures in this bar, and people are actually learning, and then people are skipping the meetings. This is where I'm getting into trouble now, because people are skipping meetings at the big formal university because to come to the meetings in the bar.
Talk to the people at the bar.
Yeah, and they're upset at me, and I'm like, maybe you guys should do better. You're welcome to come to the bar, learn about what we're doing, and then steal that. Fucking take it. Like it's public domain, and we're literally just we have no security here. We have no safety here. We're just sitting ducks here. You can come, take what you need. It's just so stupid. Like we're doing so much with so little, and we don't even have a fucking fence up. So like, you can, yeah. So this is how it got here, I guess. And this is why it's sort of like
decide. What happened in your life, do you think, that you decided to create this kind of down by the river shack?
I didn't have friends growing up, and I felt like I was always like outside the party, and so I actually met some people recently were like reflecting on like they had similar childhoods and they have the same pathologies, which is you sort of like you see someone who's like standing on the edge of the party or someone's not invited to the party, and in your body you say, I either need to bring them in, or if I can't bring them in, I'd rather not be at this party. I can't sit here while someone is on the outside. It just kind of it's this. So I feel like I've been on the outside looking in of all these like elite circles through my whole life, and have feeling like I have good ideas or that I can contribute, and then not being heard, and then I guess like the reinforcement for me was like finding a community, like finding the first home I ever found, the first friends I ever found were on the internet, were on Newgrounds, were in this like open field of game devs and artists, and again it was the quality varied a lot, and it was not like a safe place. I was like 13 years old, and I was doing projects with like anyone from like people my age or people like 40. I was just doing things, but that changed my life. It gave me purpose. Yeah. So it's that Newgrounds story. It's being outside the party and not wanting. I knew how big of a deal that was. I mean, honestly, like Tom Fulp, I think I remember if I talked to you about this last time. Tom Fulp is the man who runs Newgrounds. I actually think the way I'm doing this now is like in his honor. Like, everything I'm doing is very similar to what he has been doing, and he's still doing this. He's still running his community. It's one of the oldest websites on the internet that is still running, and he doesn't make much money. In fact, it's mostly a sink for him. He makes money through other ways, but he keeps it going. And he's the one who taught this to me. He takes in anyone who comes, young, old, whatever it is. They're broken. They're and he's still running this, and like every now and then, like somebody like in that community, like, passes away or commits suicide or something, and they make a post, and like they're like, their monthly posts are like, hey, there's new games, there's new stuff, and sometimes it's like someone who made a lot of music that people cared about is gone, and here's the postmortem, or here's the obituary, and it's just a home for the homeless, digitally homeless, or otherwise, and it mattered to me. It saved me, and I would be a very different person if I didn't have Newgrounds and Tom Fulp. And I feel a moral, I don't know, some way to pay it forward, or like, I understand that the bottom floor of ORI isn't a thing that can make money. It's mostly a sink. It's mostly like a charity thing. But I would like to make it be a funnel. Like, even 1% of the people on the bottom floor actually can be lucrative investments. I understand that now. I was throwing money. I need to disclose this publicly. I gave away $50,000, almost $50,000 last year. Anyone who asked me for money at ORI got money. Most of them didn't do anything with it, but it mattered to them. They were like, hey, I'm facing like food insecurity. And I'm like, I didn't know that. You're making all these beautiful essays and you're doing all this stuff. Here's a grant. I was like, it's not really a grant. I just feel bad for him, and I care about him, and I had money. Like, I think it's like, it's okay for me. Like, this is my new thing. It's okay for me to have grants, and it's separate from charity. It's because it's about the expectation of like what this is for. So that's it. It's a home. It's a bottom floor. It's a home for like there's always going to be a place where people who don't have anywhere to go by definition. And I would like those places to have some kind of tools or protocols, or like just know what to do. Generally, even if it's not me running them. So that's it.
I understand. It's beautiful that you want to do that for other people.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just having a place where those people who, through lack of political, social capital, got ostracized from communities, have a place to actually not be kind of thrown away, but rather to have those who value the same thing you do, which is like an open society that doesn't write people off, is beautiful. And I think there's people in the community who simply prefer to be part of one, and like interact with people who have, been pre-filtered for us in other places, and say, we actually just want to be able to evaluate individuals for ourselves, and we're not afraid to be traumatized by interaction with an open individual, that we can just handle and decide for ourselves how to interact with other people.
Yes,
and
that's it.
I think it's very fitting with your,
thank you,
and not trying to throw away people through the ideologies too.
And so before we run out of time, and we still have time, but I want to talk about this clearly, publicly here. The Brent Dill case. This is the specific.
Is he here? Was he gonna come like talk for himself?
I don't. I mean, he's typing as I can see. He's here in my mind, and he'll type what he needs to type. I think his phone.
One thing I'll say, by the way, the whole culture around deciding someone, deserves censure. We don't have to object level address anything, because in my opinion, addressing things like that ad nauseum is giving power to those who try to do that. But if he's okay with yet another rehashing of like this thing, then that's fine. And if you want to do that, that's fine. I'm neutral on that. I think it's a powerful statement to just say I'm not even going to continue to say that because someone at some point singled this person out as needing constant and infinite defense that you have to do that. You can just kind of say I'm not defending anything. I'm not like going to even engage with litigation anymore. I'm just done with it.
So yeah, let me just address it clearly at the object level here. Because this is the stance that I've been taking, this thing you described, and I was like, this is the open floor, blah blah. Okay. But there's also specific things that I'm working on and doing with Brent, and people are like, what's going on? Well, why are you doing this? Who is this man? I'm like, okay, so here's the thing. When people ask me, and this is what I'm going to answer now, is very clear because this is the truth. Why are you protecting a rapist? The answer is simple. I am not. Brent Dill did not rape anyone. That's it. Okay.
That was what Miri's finding was, right?
Yeah. So here's the thing. And then I've had this conversation. I've had this conversation in private a lot. I say this in public, or I've sort of hinted at it, whatever, and then we go in private and we talk about it, and I say this: I'm not protecting a rapist. Brent Dill did not rape anyone. And then it goes a couple of ways. People say like, well, why is everyone saying that? And I'm like, well, did you read the things? Did you read the things people are pointing to? And they're like, no, I didn't. I'm like, okay, well, go read them, and then we can talk about it. Like there's a history here of him being around, and like there's stuff that's happening, but there's no rape, and a lot of the other things are also fake. Okay. So at this point they like flip, and they're like, okay, now I get it. I read it myself, and now I have made my own opinion, and I'm done. And by the way, I wrote this essay about epistemic fences to sort of coin what I think is happening here, which is this like door, like making an opinion without, and like you sort of can't go past that line to sort of figure out, like your thought process stops at a certain fence, which in this case, like the Brent Dill is such a clear epistemic fence, and I can tell like who can go through it and who can't. Like there's two categories. Like normal people, when I tell them this, they're like, who is this guy? And I say, oh, there's the stories about him. And they look into it and they're like, oh, okay, now I get it. And then there's people who like, wait, you're talking to this man. Why are you talking to this man? I'm like, wait, did you read it? And they're like, no, I can't read it. I can't talk about this. And it's like, what happened to your brain? What's going on there? Like, why is this thought loop not going there? Why can't it go there? And then we start talking about
social ostracization.
What's that?
They fear social ostracization.
Oh yes, that's the thing. Even people who sort of are like, okay, well, I agree with you and I understand all this, but I can't say that in public. But thank you for doing that. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. I guess you could do that. But then when you sort of flip in private versus public, that's the thing that's frustrating to me. Wait, what was I gonna say here? Oh, this is the meaty part. Okay, listen. There is something wrong with Brent, in the same way that there's something wrong with a lot of people that end up in this ORI thing. So whenever I finally get a chance to talk to someone about this, who knows, who cares, who's in like Teapot or whatever, and we go a little further, they say like, okay, well, I understand that the public narrative about what they say about him is not true. Everyone agrees. Like it's like we actually have a consensus. It's just like nobody wants to say it in public. The consensus is like, okay, it's not true. All this stuff about him being a monster and being a dangerous person, Brent Dill is not dangerous. It's not a dangerous person. Okay, so then we're like, what's going on? Why are we? Why is this happening? Well, then they start to say like, well, I was hanging out with him and he was in my circle, and then bad things happened. Like a lot of like bad things happened adjacent, and that is like true. So this is the part that's really interesting to me. Like, what is it about Brent that makes it so when he shows up, things explode? So this is the fun part. Like QC and Guy on Twitter were like, this was like the claim, I think, is like, hey, if I hear that Brent Dill's around, the project's gonna explode, right? And I heard that a long time ago, and I was like, is it true? Is that true? There's one way to find out. Throw him in ORI.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah.
We can watch it. We can all watch it. See what the fuck happens. Who is this man? What is this? Yeah. What is this thing? Let's study it. Like if this is, because if that's true, because I was actually hoping it would be like, and this is the part like people are upset at me about, because they were like, you did something irresponsible. And the truth is that yes, I did. I didn't know anything about Brent. It turns out he's fine. It turns out he's not dangerous. If he could have been quite dangerous in a lot of different ways. I don't, there's a lot of people that like I invite to fucking Ithaca, like several people that I've like never met, like, because I did this young again, like when I was 14, I started working with these people and I flew out to Romania with this guy that I'd never met. So, okay. So this, like, the thing that's irresponsible about it is that there was some risk to me personally, but there was greater risk to the others around me. But I just knew that if something went horribly wrong, I basically was willing to take the responsibility for, hey, I made this choice and it went horribly wrong, and now I'm a case study of like, this is why you shouldn't trust people on the internet. And I will take me a long time to recover from that. But then someone else, like the guy playing defender and under a different name who's running in circles towards the mountain, can see how I tripped over and got a concussion or started bleeding. And then everyone on my team also, the debris exploded them as well. And may the others watching me learn. So that's the actual thing that I need to apologize to people for. Like,
did anyone get hurt, or was
no.
it just irresponsible?
Well, the actual, nobody actually got hurt. But like if anyone got hurt, it was like me, Ori, the Ori brand, right? But that's like, it's because of the narrative.
But in some ways, it was also a bold way to assert the brand.
Right. Well, let me tell you what actually happened. Okay, because this is the real pattern. Okay, let's all be clear here. This is the real pattern of what Brent does when he shows up to your community. So if Brent leaves Brent is now in my site. He's in my territory. I know what he's doing. And if Brent ever leaves my site, what I'm doing, depending on who you are, it's either like a recommendation letter, or it's like a warning, right? My sort of write-up of who Brent is the following. I would tell the next guy, hey, he's coming your way. Be careful. Here's what you need to know. Okay, here's my statement. Brent's going to walk in, and he has this ability to see all of the social dynamics and all of the power dynamics that are ongoing. And he can see who's like being abused and doesn't realize it, who's abusing who is relying on who in a way that is like unhealthy for them. And he doesn't just do that, he's gonna point it out. This is where it blows up. He walks into a room and like there's some shit going on, and he's like, do you guys not see that? Does no one else see that? This thing that like this king is like slapping these peasants, and they think they're being fairly compensated. He asked, is everyone aware of this? And it usually unfolds in many different ways.
Did he do that in ORI?
Yes, he did. He did this in ORI, and this was like where the money, like I had, like in addition to being, yelled at for
all this money.
Yes.
All this money drama was started by him.
Well, it was triggered by him being here and him pointing it out, and then
it's great for your mission.
Right. It actually
like pointing out.
It actually I actually think if Brent, look, this is what I want to tell people. Brent fucking saved me, and I owe him money.
Yeah.
I owe him a lot of money. If Brent hadn't shown up, like the ORI bubble that I was doing popped, and a lot of people left, and there was some debris. People got really mad. And now if it could have popped, like I had the fundamentals were wrong. Now if he hadn't been there, I could have gone much further, and then it would have popped, and then there would have been a bigger org, a lot more money flowing, much more responsibility, and then either I would have taken the low road of like erasing the flaws that I am and just doubling down, or I would have had to like pay, like I would have had to like pay a much bigger sort of cost. It's like he cleaned house. He shows up and he cleans house.
Yeah, does an audit.
Yes, he's the auditor. And now I'm like, wait, I need to sell this man. I'm like, can you just make a little profile? And then like, we'll just send you in whatever org we want to get a clean house in, just send them in there. And if there's anything bad going on, we'll find out.
My read of the case, you know, all this Me Too movement, 2018 sexual assault stuff, combined with the rationalist world being into, you know, these various rationalist level outside the Overton window sex groups, which play on people's real sexual interests, is that he was just someone with, you know, he like exactly what you're describing is the kind of person that pisses off those in authority who want to wield it. And that he was, you know, all the stuff he was accused of, from what I understand, Eliezer had similar claims against him. And something that I heard pointed out was that if someone is sufficiently high status, they get reformed. And if someone's sufficiently low status, they get exiled for the exact same crime.
Right.
And, you know, of course, you know, someone like him who doesn't play to the hierarchy will eventually get expelled. And, you know, for me, ORI is exactly the place I want to be, because I don't want to be in a place where people get expelled based on status hierarchies rather than just the general, like, am I enjoying what they're saying or not? Am I getting value out of it or not?
Right,
so,
right. This is the last key piece of the story, which is the ability to throw Brent under the bus. Now, like, think about what happens when we send Brenton as the auditor to any group, when he just ends up there. Now, there's a beautiful thing that you can do here, which is as the high status person, you can say, oh shit, like I could have said like all this shenanigans that were happening with money around
stirring up controversy.
Well, no, hold on, because they're true, and we cannot like I can't run away from the fact that these things happen. Like these things happen.
You can though. Many people do that.
Well, if they can't, there's another level. This is the beautiful thing about how you can use Brent, how people have used Brent. If you cannot run away from it, you can do the following. You can say, well, Brent is very smart, and he told me to do this. He told me to do it this way, and now that I know, I didn't know. Now that I know, I kicked him out, and I'm no longer going to do it this way. And people believe it because they're like, well, he got kicked out of all the last places because they said the same thing. Every time the bad thing happened, they were like, well, actually, it was that guy. He told me to do the thing. So you either say he did the thing, and if you can't make that claim, you say he told me, he influenced me. He's a bad influence. Just having him around. If he, as like, you know what it's like? It's like he's like a lightning rod, right? Like if you can do whatever you want, and then if you get bad PR, you just say it was that guy. Let's kick him out. Just give him the blame, and then move on. And now you're clean. And this is very important in the sense that the feedback is necessary. Like you get another shot as a high status person. You have to adjust your behavior so it doesn't happen again. And maybe you didn't. Maybe it's like you're not a bad person, but you did make mistakes. Now you want another shot. You want another shot without getting like the punishment. You want to be reformed, yeah, and you don't want your power to be ceded too much. So you can, like, I basically tried this. Like I tried it out. Like Brent said this would happen. Brent said people keep throwing me under the bus, and I was like, let's see how it works. And the big narrative happened, and people, again, this is like me where I lied to people, and I apologize for that. But people were like, what the fuck happened? I'm like, I didn't do it. Brent made me do it. And then they were like, yep, that's what he does. We'll help you now. And I'm like, what the fuck? I made all those choices. What are you talking about? The man was telling me not to do it from the very beginning, and I kept doing it. I ignored him. I was like, I don't care. I'm doing the thing. It's not that bad, right? And then it blew up. And he was right. And so like he showed up, he audited, he said, this is the problem. And then I ignored it, and then it blew up. It's like crazy to blame the auditor, the guy pointing out the problems on the problem, and then blame it on him and then send him away with nothing. Not even a portfolio. You should have a portfolio of all these like all these audits. Yeah. So I think that's it. And I mean, we have another court.
3 minutes.
I have to run early than we said, but I think this is a good place to wrap. Do you have any last things? Yeah.
No, some people are just coming in, so thanks
good.
Thanks for this, and
yeah.
Thanks for explaining everything, and
I appreciate you a lot. Bye, Matthew.
Yeah, appreciate you too. Bye.
Thank you, Matthew.